Welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday, brought to you by Idaho Public Television and Montana PBS.
Hi guys, welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday. I'm Carrie, and here with me is
Hi, I'm Nikki, and I'm at Montana PBS.
And I'm really excited to have joining us today Sonia Galavis from the Boise School District. She's gonna introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself, and then we'll dive in. So take it away, Sonia.
Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, I'm Dr. Sonia Galavis. I teach a 4-5 combo in Boise. I taught 5th grade for like 100 years. And due to our numbers, I'm in a combo this year. And this year is 20 years of teaching. So I volunteered for the combo because I'm like, yeah, I'll play around because they get a little bit of wiggle room that maybe just straight grade levels don't. So I'm having fun with that. Yeah, like I said, year 20 in Title I schools in Idaho. So wow. Definitely something I love. Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right. Well, we're just going to talk a little bit about tech and specifically some kind of tech during COVID times.
So Sonia, we know that COVID happened and technology became the #1 tool for a lot of teachers because it was really the only way that some teachers could deliver instruction starting in March of 2020. And we're now in the 3 phases of the pandemic later. Tell us, how has your use of technology and digital learning tools changed as a result of the teaching during a pandemic?
Right. Well, like a lot of teachers, it was a steep learning curve. It was a painful baptism into the necessity of technology in order to reach our babies, right? So March 2020, hard shutdown. In Boise, we were still doing outreach via like packets, like families were picking up packets, and then we were able to distribute devices, and we were able to do something like this, a virtual space like this via Google Meet, or I know some districts were doing Zoom, but it was a far cry from the technological savvy we wanted to be demonstrating, something that would replicate or at least parallel the diversity that you have in a classroom, right? Like, how are you able to differentiate? And I think teaching in the pandemic, which is still happening, it's still happening now, has been challenging in a number of ways, but a very strange silver lining is recognizing the technological needs in the classroom, technological experience for teachers. It became quite clear what I didn't know how to do in a tech space. And so every teacher I know dove into this space with a lot of hunger, like, necessity breeds invention, right? So the necessity of it, we were able to like lean into each other, lean into the challenge. There was a lot of sharing, like, what are you using? How are you using that? What is that board? How are you able to write on it? What is this thing called Jamboard, right? Nobody knew. And now you have educators who not only know how to do it, they're demonstrating their skills with other teachers, and it's something they're still using now that we're back face to face. So we had a lot of time to learn while doing. The kids were on that journey with us. And then we had the summer, right? We had the summer of 2020, and I was part of, a team of people in the Boise district who got to write curriculum all summer for this online space, saying, okay, the online space is not going to go away. We're going to have, an online school option. A lot of places had a virtual option. What does that look like? And so for me and several teachers, we were looking at what are the most useful tools, what's the most friendly if you haven't, had a lot of experience or deep formal education in those kinds of tools. How do we make it as interactive, and how do we differentiate curriculum through technology for our kids? So always at the forefront of my mind when planning is, I saw my babies, like I saw my students in my mind where I'm like, how do I reach Juanito? How do I reach my new to country? How do I reach refugee kiddos? How do I reach those that are emergent English? How do I reach my gifted students? How do I, and I think it was a lot of learning through trial and error for all of us. But one thing that this opportunity allowed was everybody to humble themselves a bit. Those of us who thought our britches were sort of big and, you know, in the teaching world or in the student world, like, I got this, we were all humbled. We'll just say that. We were all humbled to this space. And I saw kids really helping teachers leaning on students as, you know, leveraging their expertise with some tech, and then educators helping educators maximize this opportunity so we could reach and teach kids.
I love that. I love what you shared about that sort of being the silver lining that came out of this otherwise insane time of year and you know, season of teaching. So I guess sort of playing off of that, then you said you had some time for trial and error. You found some things that were really great. What kinds of tools or practices do you think you're going to keep using, and what ones are you really glad that you don't want to use anymore, and that you're going to see kind of, you know,
right,
leaving now?
Hit the road. I am quite literally using the majority of the tools I came to know and embrace during like 2020 madness of COVID, right? So there was the shutdown where we were all like, what is happening? And it was a lot of just this space, just come to this space and let's talk. And then it got more sophisticated. And then, you know, and then I got my fancy pants on and I'm doing breakout rooms and I'm doing interactive, and I'm like, oh, there's this thing called Pear Deck and I can watch them all working at the same time. And so we got super fancy. And then I dialed it back a little bit. I'm like, all right, I'm making myself insane with all of this. So it was like, I have held on to some key tech pieces even now. And I say even now because Boise and most districts are face-to-face, right? But I have right now, today on Thursday, I have 7 babies that are out either with COVID or are quarantining. So I have almost a third of my classroom that is out. And because like most educators, I'm a little type A, that's the way it goes, right? And I want to make sure my kids are accessing not only the curriculum, but me. Like I want them, so and not everybody does this, and nor should they or have to, but I'm doing both. So my babies are online on one screen, and my face-to-face kids are here. And through technology, I've been able to digitize a lot of what we're doing in the classroom space just by even Jamboard, right? Which is a Google Suite. Being able to upload an image, drop some text box, and then the physical version of what my kids face-to-face are doing, my online kids are doing the very same thing with maybe 2 minutes of tweaks to that document. So that's one thing that I've gotten better at, and a lot of teachers have gotten better at. How do I take something that's a hard copy and digitize it so kids can access it? Knowing how to use this virtual space where I'm putting the kids on different screens, where I flip the webcam around and they are interacting, but then they're on the smart board and the class is interacting with the kids at home, just like they were here. So a very hybrid setting, and the kids don't even blink. They're like, yeah, this is normal. This is how this works. You know, being able to do breakout groups with hybrid, with my kiddos that are home and my kiddos that here, we put them on a Chromebook and I'm like, take these 2 over to the back table. You all are going to work on XYZ. And they do it. So a kid logs in, gets the 2 on a side Google Meet room and takes them to the back table to work on small group. That blows my mind. Like just that's something so simple that I'm still able to engage with my kids. And so, and through a lot of Google Suite, God bless Google in this whole thing, you know, a lot of Google Suite where I'm able to see through Google Classroom. I've gotten very intimate with Google Classroom. I know a Google Classroom. So I'm in there, I'm watching my online kids. I'm like, oh, buddy, go back to number 4, you know, go back to, and so I'm able to see and still have face-to-face kiddos, you know, at the same time. You know, having breakout rooms where I'm able to have them watching different video clips and responding, and then meet me back here in 10 minutes and we're going to talk whole group on how that works. So without technology and the opportunities I was provided through the nightmare of COVID, I would not be able to serve my students that are at home, period. And that's what I'm doing. I'm like, we're not going to have the gaps this year. No, because I know better, right? I can do better. And because of that, we're able to build that bridge as best we can for the kids that are home for a bit, for whatever reason, and still keep up with content and the conversations. And it helps them too, through that blessing of technology. They're zooming in every day and they still feel like they're a part of the class, not like, oh, 10 days at home and I don't know what's going on. They're still a part of this community. They're a part of the conversations and they're able to access the content and their teacher. And that means the world.
I love that. And I hope that that's something that doesn't change. I remember, when I was in the classroom, and I was just thinking about this, would have been such a beneficial thing. I had a student that ended up, being sick and having to be out for like 2 months, right? And I went to his home after school and caught him up because there was no way I would have thought of that. And so he had some medical issues that made him need to stay home. And I just think, holy cow, that's revolutionary. That could change some of those, like for kids like that who need to be home, not even just because of COVID, but just, that was years ago. So I love that.
Right.
So Sonia, can you share one example of something kind of innovative that new that you've done with your class since COVID started, that and I think you started to talk about the design of collaborative groups in a hybrid setting, but you tell us, showcase one activity or one project that you did that probably wouldn't have happened pre-COVID.
Absolutely. I can think of a few. And one thing that I'm proud of in our space last year was letting go, sharing that power and the space of how class was going to run with my kids. I had to. There is no ultimate control when they're all virtual, right? I've got to have their buy-in because they can turn off cameras, peace out, and it's Netflix all day. And I'm like, doing a dance in the background. They don't care. So being able to share that power with the kids, I was like, you're going to help us all become a community that can use these tech tools and really like elevate what we're doing and enhance what we're doing. So Flipgrid, love it, right? Flipgrid, where kids were able to make a quick video of themselves highlighting different tools or techniques or websites that we were using in the class, and they taught each other. So I had kiddos, even from something like, how do I download a picture on Chromebook, but upload it somewhere else? It wasn't as intuitive for the kids. So I had some girls, they were like, we'll do the Flipgrid on that. So showing kids how to do that. I had some where there were like interactive practice websites that maybe a kid would be like, what am I supposed to do? Where are these numbers? I had kiddos do a Flipgrid on that. I had girls do a Flipgrid on Flipgrid. Like, here's Flipgrid. And they're like, yeah, exactly. And they were sharing their screen. They're like, watch, it's counting down, 3, 2, 1, and then show them. And this is how you upload it. And this is how you comment on other people's. And they all did that. And I sat back and watched them be leaders in tech and help each other. And it's like, kids speak their own language. Having a kid explain to a kid how to do it was great. We did a video editing. How do you splice together a video if you want to, do a demo with American Revolution, whatever. But yeah, so I have those Flipgrids still. I have little shots, and I showed it this year. So that was my last year kiddos who are online. I showed it this year when we went to go do something with Flipgrid. I'm like, let me pull up my darlings from last year who are going to teach you how to do it, how to upload it. It's not me. And they're like, oh, okay, we got that. And then they were commenting like, where are you from? And anyway, it was great, complete blessing. And I think definitely enhanced me as a teacher. I'm more, willing to be innovative. Humbled me as an educator that no, you don't know everything, Galavies. And really, I think elevated the classroom to where we can do things differently, and just create another level of options for kids to access me, access the class, and access their learning.
I love that. One of the things that I love about tech, which you talked about, is that it really lets the kids be leaders, right? Like, because kids know this, they're immersed in it. And so I loved when you mentioned earlier as well that like the teachers were letting the kids help them with their tech. And that's something that I also hope we don't lose. Sometimes I think as teachers, we think we sort of have to be the all-knowing,
Sure.
you know, person in the room, but allowing the kids to really shine and be leaders is, I think, so important. And
I think one of the biggest compliments of like job roles in my classroom is what we call tech support. So whatever we're doing in whatever tech space, face to face, even, I'll be like, who gets this? Who gets this? Like, and I'll have 2 or 3 kids and I'll be like, boom, there's your tech support. And the kids know they are to go to them before they come to me.
I love that.
So then when we're doing an activity, I'll have a kiddo, like my kiddo, Zach, he'll be like, I'm tech support. Don't go to Galavis. It's like text, and they'll go, and how do I do it? And it's empowering for them. They like that role. Gen Z is it's a different generation. They've had screens and these interactive spaces available to them since birth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Gen Xer. We did not, right? We did not. So I've, again, sharing that power of like, I don't need to know everything. They're going to be able to explore and teach me. And it's good. I'm thankful for those additions to my classroom space.
I love that. Thank you so much. This was awesome. Nikki, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I just loved everything you said. And I think anytime we put kids in the leadership position, and I agree, and I love what you said about being more flexible, and you know, I'm seeing the same confidence from teachers that I talk to as well, you know, after 3 rounds of online hybrid learning, or this is round 3, you know, there's like, okay, I know how to do this now. Like I'm not perfect, but I understand that I don't have to be. So I think that's a great perspective, great attitude.
And I think, you know, those challenges, they are challenges, and it is not ideal. Nobody's saying it is, but and it can still frustrate us, but it doesn't scare us anymore as educators, where before you were petrified. How am I going to be able to do this? And now, you know, it's okay to be frustrated, and it's okay to, you know, be tired, but I'm not scared by the challenge anymore. And when, you know, in a matter of the last 10 days, I had, you know, 7 babies have to leave for whatever it was. And I'm like phoning the parents, and I'm like, I'll be dropping the device at the door. 8:40 is when class starts. And those kids are there. Nice. And they're there, and they just know, and they don't miss a beat. They don't miss a beat. And I'm so grateful for that. And had we not had these last 18 months of this experience, I'd be wondering like, oh, what are my kiddos doing? Are they doing the work I sent them? And now I have them in my space, and they're still a part of this community, which that's really important right now, to have a community, you know, and have people that you're learning side by side with. So
I love that.
Thank you so much for sharing. So great to hear from you.
You bet. Okay. Do you got